Hey guys, LevelCap here and welcome to another episode of This Week in Gaming. Today's video is sponsored by BetterHelp. BetterHelp is an online counseling service for anyone who struggles with life's challenges. They make professional counseling accessible, affordable, and convenient. I think just about everyone at one point or another can greatly benefit from counseling. I personally used counseling that was available to me in college to help me deal with some extremely stressful times in my life. It helped me immensely and I would highly recommend it to anyone who is having a hard time. The really nice thing about BetterHelp is that it's an online service that's available anywhere at any time. So if scheduling an appointment or traveling is something you can't fit into your schedule, that's not a problem. They offer texting services, phone calls, and even video chat, plus they offer financial aid for those who qualify. In this fast-paced world, we sometimes forget to take care of ourselves, and BetterHelp is trying to make that much easier for everyone. Click the link in the video description to go to their website and find out more. Alright, getting into the gaming news. PUBG Corp have finally had enough with the copycats. The developer is now suing NetEase, the Chinese company behind the mobile games Knives Out and Rules of Survival. The suit alleges NetEase's game infringes on PUBG's copyrights and trademarks. It goes beyond copying PUBG's Battle Royale format. The copycat games include things like cookware as a weapon, airdropped crates, and the phrase "winner winner chicken dinner" on the victory screen. They also feature UI and some in-game assets that look nearly identical to PUBG's. Despite the clearly intentional similarities between NetEase's game and PUBG, they all highlight how much PUBG's developers have utilized the Unreal Engine 4's asset store. All three games were developed in-engine, and as such, the developers had access to props, models, and more, all put up for sale to use in the Unreal 4 games. It's perfectly fine for multiple game developers to use the same publicly available assets. The issue is using the same assets as a competitor's product to copy its design. Still though, PUBG Corp certainly has a case to make. How far they get with it though is anyone's guess. PUBG's most recent update added the option to spectate your killer on death. Fortnite has had a similar mechanic that has proven very popular with players. The update also fixed a bug that caused vehicles to flip and fly away for no apparent reason. The developers have also added a new custom game option called War. It's a deathmatch mode that pits players against each other in a small circle. Respawning is enabled and the game ends when one player reaches a set number of total kills. Unfortunately, only PUBG partners can currently host custom games. That said, any player can be invited to one. The testing period for PUBG's upcoming tropical island map Savage came to a close this week. It provided an interesting map that really mixed up the pacing of a typical PUBG match. In general, matches were a little shorter and the action was a bit more consistent throughout the duration of the game. I did a full breakdown of my thoughts on the map, so be sure to check out that video for all the details. Fortnite players are scrambling to figure out an Easter egg in-game. A meteor is slowly making its way towards the map's biggest urban area, Tilted Towers. The area was added in an update a couple months ago and has quickly become a focal point that most players fixate on when choosing a spot to land. This has led to some very intense close quarters combat situations, but also dramatically affected Fortnite's pacing. Prior to the introduction of Tilted Towers, players generally spread out pretty evenly across the map. Now 20 to 40 players typically land on the same spot. In the first 5 minutes of a match, most of those players end up dead. The few that have survived tend to stay in Tilted Towers. Now, the falling meteor is presumed to be part of the game's ongoing space-themed seasonal event. Players expect the meteor to strike Tilted Towers sometime this month, possibly on the 18th, based on the Morse code found at a specific location on the map. Assuming Tilted Towers is leveled by the meteor, it's unclear if the changes will remain after the current season ends. All that said, some kind of rebalance of the map that encourages players to spread out more again would be nice. DAYZ is now expected to relaunch in some way on an updated engine in a couple of weeks. The game's lead producer was quoted as saying as much during a recent event from Microsoft's indie label. He referred to the update as almost a reboot of DayZ on PC. He also reaffirmed DayZ will be released on Xbox One this year. The game has been in Steam's early access program for the better part of 4 years now. Since its initial release, the game's popularity has dwindled as games like PUBG and copycat games have stolen its thunder. Overwatch's next event has been revealed. Called Retribution, it'll feature a PvE mode on a new map set in Venice. Players will have access to 4 heroes, Moria, McCree, Genji, and Reaper. They'll fight AI enemies on their way to an extraction point. The event will last from the 10th to the 30th and will come with the usual variety of new cosmetic items. Bungie is working on a new weapon system for Destiny 2. Currently, players have 2 primary weapon slots and a 3rd slot dedicated to power weapons. The issue is power weapons span the gamut from shotguns and sniper rifles to rocket launchers. Forcing players to choose between so many weapon options with such dramatically different gameplay mechanics has been a source of frustration for the community since the game's launch. Rumors about a potential Battle Royale game from the studio behind The Division have started to circulate this week. The rumors are unsubstantiated thus far. The Division features an area called the Dark Zone. Players in this area fight each other to extract high-end loot. Getting killed drops any unextracted loot you are carrying, and it costs you some experience and respawns you at a nearby entrance to the area. Calling the Dark Zone a Battle Royale arena wouldn't be too far removed from what it actually is. The Division also has a DLC that is basically a survival mode with Battle Royale elements. Despite the rumors being unconfirmed, it would make sense that The Division 2 would feature more Battle Royale elements, or that the same developers are working on a standalone Battle Royale title. Lawbreakers is officially on life support. The developers confirmed no further content will be added to the game. It'll still be maintained, but only in its current state. Essentially, the servers will stay online for the time being. Initially marketed as a free-to-play arena shooter, Lawbreakers was published as a paid title and failed to attract a large audience. Given the game's failure, it was speculated it would eventually go free-to-play. No mention of a transition to free-to-play was made in the announcement. New footage of the upcoming Spider-Man game has been released. The footage features new gameplay and shows off a couple of iconic locations from Marvel's biggest franchises like Wakanda and the Avengers Tower. Previous Spider-Man games have been very successful, particularly the tie-in games for 2002's Spider-Man film, which was one of the first massively popular Marvel superhero movies. The new game looks much more immersive and expansive than previous games. It is now scheduled to launch on September 7th exclusively for the PS4. The Hitman franchise has found a new publisher, Warner Brothers. After Square Enix tried to sell off the development studio behind the franchise, its future looked uncertain. Thankfully, the developers managed to come away with both the franchise rights and their independence. Warner Brothers will be releasing Hitman Definitive Edition on May 15th for the PS4 and Xbox One. The release includes the most recent game, all of its Game of the Year Edition content, and some additional cosmetic items, and the summer bonus episode. No word yet as to whether or not future Hitman games are in the works. The developers have stated in the past that they're continuing to work on the franchise, but that doesn't mean Warner Brothers is interested in paying for new games. New footage of the upcoming open-world zombie survival game State of Decay 2 has been released. It's the follow-up to 2013's State of Decay that was well reviewed by both critics and players. Based on the new footage, it looks like the game's stealth system has been expanded to include stealth takedowns of zombies. It will also feature base building, expanded NPC interactions, more vehicle combat, and tougher enemies. State of Decay 2 is scheduled to launch on May 22nd for the Xbox One and PC. FIREWATCH is the most recent of several third-party titles currently being ported to the Nintendo Switch. It's an indie game that was released to widespread praise from critics and did very well with players. When the Switch was first announced, its lack of processing power and focus on portable gaming raised concerns about third-party developers wanting to make games for the system. Since the Switch launch, however, several notable titles such as Doom, Skyrim, Stardew Valley, Rocket League, and more have made their way to the console. In our final story this week, contrary to initial reports, Valve haven't stopped selling Steam machines. News that Steam machines had been removed from the Steam store quickly spread this week. Valve later clarified that the direct link to the Steam machines page had simply been removed from the Steam's main navigation due to lack of traffic. They also acknowledged that the Steam Machine initiative has failed to meet expectations. Valve initially launched the Steam machines as a way to give people unfamiliar with PC gaming an easy way into the scene. They offered a wide variety of pre-built PCs that range from moderate to high-end systems. They also all shipped with Valve's Linux-based operating system, SteamOS. Valve has continued to support Linux games and is still actively developing SteamOS. It's likely they're planning to revamp the entire Steam Machine program to coincide with their upcoming VR titles and Steam's design overhaul. Anyway, that wraps it up for today's episode of This Week in Gaming. As always, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if there's any other articles you thought were pretty interesting that we may have not covered here. And I'll see you next time. This is Level Cap, signing off.